Welcome, everyone. Welcome to episode 11 of Wherever You're Shopping in Your Relationships. All right, is there an echo here, y'all? Can you hear me okay? Let me know. Maybe I'm on the right mic. All right, you got to love tech. You got to love the tech. Okay, it sounds better now. Okay, welcome to episode 11 of Where Are You Shopping in Your Relationships. Today, we're going to be discussing the anatomy of blame. So I'm Mariquita Solis, the Uncaged Heart Coach and co-founder of thelastfirstdate.com, the last first date LLC, but .com if you want to find us. And so I'm here with my other co-founder of the last first date, Linda Tilson, a behavioral specialist with a deep understanding of human behavior and the patterns that shape how we show up in our lives and relationships. Now, as you can see, we are not demanding that anyone show up perfectly. What we would ask is that you show up here authentically, right? And with all your beautiful wisdom, your flaws, all of it. We embrace it. So let us know if you're watching now or on the replay. So as I said, we are the co-founders of the First Last Date. Today, we're going to be having a different kind of conversation. It's one that sometimes people might not want to talk about, but we're going to be having a conversation about breaking the cycle of scorekeeping and finger pointing. Now, I'm very good at that, so I'll just let you know. I'm deciding to make sure that to show a different way of navigating relationships, not looking at what our partner did wrong, but having the courage to look at our own triggers also, because true accountability isn't about punishing anyone. It's a willingness to step out of that defensive mode and own your side of the dynamic. The ways you shut down, the ways you keep score, and the ways you can choose connection over being right. In a world that leads towards immediate blame or avoidance, we're asking today a different question. Are you willing to step away from that scorecard and stand in the truth of your connection? This conversation today is about healing the rift, not perfection again, not finger pointing, just truth and the courage to live inside it. So let's get down to it.
I'm really happy to get into this topic. And as you shared with us before, we're all really good about the blame game. We play it really well. We are, wanting to have connection. And the things that we do when we are fighting to win, we are carrying resentment that comes out in the heat of the moment. We are doing things where we don't own our own accountability for our dynamic, our part of the dynamic, all of those things. And, what I love about what we're going to talk about today, and you said it very clearly, there's a different way that you can get to connection. So instead of the blaming, what you're going to do is going to, when you see a behavior that's being done well, you're going to reward. So you're going to listen to your partner more, and you're going to reward the good behaviors when you see them. That is the guiding principle of all of these things we're going to talk about. And so, the very first one, when you have a situation where, let's say, there's two people in a household and they are both getting ready to work. So that's a dual earning household, let's say. They're getting ready to go to work. And, one person is going to be working from home and one person is going to be actually leaving and going to a physical place. And the argument comes up every day around this whole who's going to make the lunch. And the person that's leaving thinks that the person staying home should make their lunch. so so what this can trigger in a person is, well, why should I have to manage somebody else's time because they're leaving, instead of like, how can I help? So turning that around and leaning into how you can help is much better than the converse, which typically happens. Why don't you give yourself enough time to make your dang lunch? Why am I here to do it? Well, you can see where this is going to go. It's going to go south really quickly. And so part of the first one we're going to talk about is, the defense versus connection. And so it was really easy in this example to instantly go to, you don't manage your time well, so I'm going to call you out for it. And instead of like maybe having a little compassion for another person, like sitting down and having conversation about, well, maybe the night before we should go down and see who needs what and share the responsibility. That would be a much better way to keep the connection rather than going into this mode of one person being upset and then the other person saying that, well, you're at home, well, you can do this, why aren't you helping me out here? So anyway, what would you have to say about that particular dynamic that can often unfold?
Well, I think we have to be very conscious in the moment because we can't take things back. I mean, we can apologize, but it's better if we take a minute to think before we respond because we can just shoot off things. I can say, "Well, why don't you make the darn lunch? You know, I've been making it all week long." Right? And so I mean that would come out of my mouth very quickly. So I mean to think about things before I say them, to take a breath and see how we can navigate this together and simply say something much more kind like, right, today I'm running really behind. So it would really help me out if you could make the lunch today. And let's talk about it when we get home so we can, we won't be in this kind of dynamic again where we'll have a set schedule and we can work it out together so both of us can benefit. So that would be a better way of handling it. Now, do I do that all the time or have I done that all the time? No, but I'm willing to learn and change and shift and take a pause.
Yes, when we choose to take a pause and give ourselves a timeout and then respond in a way that would be encouraging, because the other way obviously is not encouraging. And so that leads us into what we would call the mirror effect. So learning to look at your own triggers instead of looking at your partner's flaws. There's a reason why I use that story, because that was what was going on, is looking at the partner's flaws rather than, okay, it triggers me when someone doesn't manage their own time. And so that was really what was going on. It wasn't that I couldn't be helpful. It was, okay, this is, it's not working for me. So owning when you have a trigger, because it's not always the other person's fault. And sometimes, someone asking for help is asking for help. And when you look at it, oh well, this isn't very convenient. 10 minutes before I've got to do something, you're asking for help. So, taking the time to really think about it. And no, you're not going to think about these things usually in the moment. You're going to think about after you said the things like you said you couldn't take back, and then you caused damage. And so instead of building connection, you've made the situation worse by having the other person most likely shut down, and they're either not going to ask for help or they're going to find a way around this, and it might mean it comes back at you in some other form because they're going to carry around some anger around this about not getting help. So okay, so we also do another thing where we keep score. We keep score of things that happen. The resentment is building, just like in this little example. And so instead, if we can figure out in that moment what is actually happening between us right now, that kind of slows it down if you put that thought into your head. And it's not something that I would say that most people automatically know how to do. These are tips and tricks that we're sharing with you that you can incorporate once you know about them. They're things that stop a behavior in its tracks. Because if you're asking yourself a question, it's pausing, it's slowing it down, and then it's making you look at the now. It's taking you away from the past. In the past, this person never takes accountability for getting things done ahead of time. And that is where we're keeping score. And instead, it's like, okay, how can I help here? Okay, I am going to make the lunch today. And I like your example that you used before, Marikita. You said that you would go ahead and do that and then have a conversation about it later. Well, that's so much better in the moment to figure out how to get through it, put away the scorekeeping, and then have a way to address the thing that's going on that's causing angst, and each person taking a role in it.
Yeah, and I think when you talk about your feelings, like just thinking about being rushed and needing to get the lunch and that under that pressure. I mean, there are many times when I'm rushing around and I'm grabbing whatever I can, but then navigating it with another person would make me want to scream. But yes, saying even just, I mean, talking about your feelings in the moment, I feel very overwhelmed. I don't want to take it out on you. I see, and how can we, I want to be respectful in this moment. I don't think I can make the lunch, but again, I love you, and I want to make sure that I don't hurt your feelings because I might say something that I don't mean.
Exactly, because we all love our partners, and they're everyone gets everyone under everyone's skin. That's just human nature. And you know, the other part of about all of this that we're talking about is really um, the power to owning your role. We don't always think about that. There's a power in that when you own your part in the dynamic and what's going on, the good and the not so good. Well, then there's that acceptance around that, and you instead of pointing it always at somebody else, is like, how could I show up differently? Well, I could be a little more patient, I could be understanding, I could be loving and kind, and and do that instead. It doesn't mean that you're backing down, or that the behavior that's upsetting you or triggering you is not is not a problem. It just means, yes, it's a problem, but I'm going to deal with it in a better way, which is to um, get the good behavior to happen. Again, I'm always looking at, why do people behave and act in the way that they do. And so in this situation, nothing's gonna become the dialogue of the back and forth of, you should have, and I don't have time, and why aren't you helping, and why can't you, all the things that could go back and forth between two people. um and so really, uh, it's like, okay, how can we work together? How can we make this better in the future? Yes, I'm owning that it's frustrating to me. The other person may or may not be realizing the frustration they're causing because they just want to do their routine. And so, um, yeah, having that conversation when you're not in the heat of the moment, each person owning their thing. And then when you see the person doing something right, let's say in this situation, the very next day, they're ready to go, their lunch is made because they did it the night before, because they heard your concerns, they heard your complaints, and thought, well, I don't want to get that again. I'm gonna do what is necessary, so I don't have to have the war in the morning, the war of the ways. So when you see someone that does something, you can say, you know what, that really was helpful that you packed your lunch the night before. I was able to have the routine that I like to have in the morning. You were able to get out on time. And look at this. We feel great in the morning. We're setting out on the right foot, not in this place and space of anger, resentment, hostility. Oh, thank you so much for doing this. This has been, you know, an area that we've struggled with for a while, and now look at it, look how easy and nice it is for both of us to do this, and and put it at that. And then don't just stop there, recognize the great behavior that contributed to a better outcome, but then there's more to all of this. We're always contributing and participating in relationship. So I need to think about, okay, where are some areas that I might not be showing up for that other person, and how can I build the connection and do some other things that might be helpful and kind, because it's not about, again, the scorekeeping. If we're always pointing, it's the other person. In this example, I'm like, oh, okay, I know I haven't been showing up in this area. I'm probably really annoying, so I need to do better. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to work on that. And then I do that. And then my partner, as they're learning how to dance with me, because that's what this is. It's a little life dance. then they would also say, well, Linda, it was really nice when you did XYZ for me. I really appreciate that. And so so all of these skills, when we're hot in the moment, we're not going to remember any of them. So it's like taking a time out when these things have come to head where they're not so good in how either of us responded, you or your partner, and then having that conversation, figuring out where you can meet somebody else, and then allowing them to do the same, and just really, I mean, recognize, when you recognize a good behavior in the moment when it's happening, guess what, the person will want to do more of it. The converse is true. You don't recognize it and you pick it apart, well, then, that'll continue on too. And so then it's just a battle of the wills. So what else would you have that you'd like to add to this discussion that I haven't mentioned already?
Well, I think it's very important to check in with your partner so that you don't have this resentment and you don't get to these places where you can blame each other and fight, and check in and say, is everything going smoothly? Is there anywhere that I'm irritating you, or, is there anything that I can do to make your life better? Right. And when we have these authentic conversations and we're not afraid of hearing, well, I don't like the way you leave the towels all over the bathroom, or, I mean, hopefully it won't be phrased like that, but could you, I really like it when the bathroom is, the towels are all nice and neatly put up, whatever, but in a nice way. We can have these conversations and navigate things a lot better if we do the check-ins, so we don't get to this place, because that just shows how much you care and how you have to check in with your partner during relationships, because it's just like building a house, right? You wouldn't just, I'll start over here and you start over there, and we're never going to check in to see what's going on. No, we communicate. How's it going today? How's the progress? Everything good? Okay, let's move to the next day. How's it going? We have to have these conversations so we don't get to these points of blaming and anger and frustration and resentment and all this building up.
You're exactly right, and we should want to have these conversations. In a healthy relationship, you want to have the conversations. And it's not. We also want to add one other thing. It's not that you don't want to um, have conflict, because healthy conflict is good. Because when you have conflict, that means that there's some discussion, hopefully, that's going to be around it, and then you come to some aha moments where you learn why things happen in the way they did. And you might, if you're listening, you might learn why certain things were happening and how you can actually help the situation rather than hurt or hinder the situation. And so really, with what we're discussing and all of these different relational tips, we want to convey that nobody's perfect. We're going to make mistakes, but making mistakes is all right, because that's how we learn. It's if you make the mistake over and over again and you have no awareness, or you have no self accountability to make it better, then that's where the problems really lie. And with that, Marakita, would you take us to what we have waiting for our audience?
Yeah, and let us know if you have any questions, and if you're watching, y'all, and make sure to subscribe. So, well, on July 24th, which is in a week, next week at 12 Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, we will be joining everyone on Zoom. So we hope that you will register and join for a live community conversation about relationships. We want to hear how you're navigating your relationships. Do you have wins? Do you have challenges? Do you have questions? Because this is the way we learn, when we get together in and talk about these things. If we don't talk, we can't grow. And what is life without growth, right? So we want to hear from you all. So we want you to register. Right there, that's going by on the screen, is our website. And under events, you can go there and register. You must register. Now, this is an event where we're going to have our cameras on. This is a very candid conversation. So it's not going to be recorded or shown to anyone. It's a space where we can open up. And we were asking that you answer this one question. And we would love to hear you email us the answer at connect at the last lastfirstdate.com. And so, y'all, you can find this on the website. The question is, what is one behavior that tells you someone is truly ready for a meaningful, authentic relationship? Now, I'll read it again. What is one behavior that tells you that someone is truly ready for a meaningful, authentic relationship? We would love to hear your answer. And then you will be eligible for it's a partnership wellness assessment. It's going to talk about your professional strength profiles and relationship values profiles, growth opportunities. It's going to talk about compatibility indicators and 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 other valuable assets to learn about yourself, your partner, and what you need in a relationship. So thanks for putting that up, JJ. She is here watching. Connect at thelastfirstdate.com. There she goes. She's always got our backs. And that's what we can never do this alone. And so, yes. Um, so y'all, please register. We want to see you. We want to hear your wisdom because again, we all grow together. That's next week. Make sure to register. So, I guess we've come to the end.
We have, and that's happened really fast. When you're having fun, time flies by. And that question that we're putting out to our audience in our community conversation, it's one where it has a lot of diverse answers to it. And that's why we've asked that question, because one thing that we do know in the work that we do is what one person's perspective is on answering that question. There could be a person sitting right next to them and they have a completely different answer. So it's really fun to hear what other people think is what the answer is. And that's why we're asking it, because we really want to do some exploration in our conversations. And with that giveaway that we're doing, what I want to say is it's more than taking an assessment where you complete and check the box, answer the questions. It's actually filled with a ton of value, because when you invest in yourself and answer the questions on this assessment, it will bring up and evoke memories and moments that you want to go further on. And what's really nice about this assessment that we're going to be doing is you get to come back and sit with Marikita and I, and we are going to go through the assessment and shed some light on what some of your answers are bringing to the surface, and see if you have the awareness to them. So I just want everyone to know that the work that we do, we find it very meaningful, because when we can bring awareness to someone and the different areas in their life that could more positively impact the relationships they're building, the more successful they are. And we're just really excited about the opportunity to get to work with someone in this way. And yeah, it's going to be a good use of your time. And with the people that we've worked with that have done the assessment so far, they said it's game changing of what happens just from answering the questions, but it's life changing the moment we sit down and have that conversation. So I just really wanted to add that if you haven't met us before and you haven't worked with us, here's an opportunity, risk free, to get to do that. And why not?
Very true. Yes, the young man that took the assessment recently just told me it really brought up some things he hadn't thought about. So he was very grateful that he took the assessment. So yeah, the more we can learn about ourselves, the better we're going to show up in relationships. So we're looking forward to seeing you next week, July 24th, 12 Pacific, 3 Eastern. Make sure to sign up. And thanks for watching, y'all. And also make sure you subscribe. We'll be back on here with more live streams, reels, and we're excited to get to know you. So we will see you all next week. Thanks for joining us. Bye, everybody.